Hello! Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be taking apart a Roomba. Yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know. I'm just going to be like opening it up, seeing what's inside, and just like kind of talking as I take apart a Roomba. So if that interests you, keep watching. I've got this beautiful D-Bot from EcoVax Robotics. Got it for 10 bucks at my local DI. Let's dig into this bad Larry. Okay, so here's my understanding of just the first little part of taking apart the vacuum. You've got this obviously just like sweeps stuff up and it ends up in the pan was right here. I took it out, the whatever you call it, where it keeps all the crap it collects. And then you've got these little spinny fans, spin stuff into here. It's missing the one there. And then you've got these wheels. I'm really curious about these wheels actually because they go down, and oh sorry, you can't see that. They go down, and I wonder why they're made to do that. They seem to be attached to like gears. I'm really curious what kind of motors these are. Then you've got the battery here. You've got these cool charging ports here. I am really curious what kind of motors are on these things. But anyway, what else? It's got these little like sensors here. It's got one here, here, and here. And I think that what they do is they just like sense when it's going over edges and stuff like that. It also has, I just barely unscrewed the bumper. The bumper has these little clicking things to where it can sense what it's hitting into. Kind of neat. That's pretty much it so far though. So here's the front bumper of it. It had a cable that went in right there, and then it's got these little, they look like transistors here and here. I'm not sure why there's hardware in the front piece, but I hopefully that could become clear to me soon. Because what I'm wondering is like, why would you put hardware in the bumper? Like, why would you store anything in the bumper? Isn't it just a piece of plastic that's meant to have these other detector things that like it's got these little bits that push in, and those are what trigger like the sensor of the bumper. So like, why is the actual plastic piece of the bumper that I would have assumed is just like a space holder for like, you know, for impact and whatever, like why does that have transistors in it is what I'm wondering. Okay, I'm an idiot. These are infrared sensors. They're not transistors. And so yeah, they see through this black layer on the front. You can see that it's if you look through the light, it's purple. So yeah, the infrared thing can see through that, and that's how it detects walls. Pretty neat. Are these infrared? What are these? Okay, we've got a power button. One of those fun 4-pin, I think, thingy-mabobs. I don't know anything about electronics. And then there's motor here, motor there, maybe? I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll be honest. This is cool. You can see where it gets swept up into the little bin. What the heck? Anyway, neat. So continuing on the inside of the vacuum, we've got, these are the brush motors. You can see on the other side, that's where the brushes connect. And I took one of them out right here, which is kind of fun. You can see that it's got this little gear that attaches to this big gear. It's got the little gear, and it goes to this bigger gear. And so what you end up getting is every time this thing spins once, this thing actually doesn't spin that much, which is the opposite of what I would have expected. I'm an idiot. I don't know anything, but I would have thought it would be set up to, anyway, I would have thought it would be set up the other way. Is it spinning? Kind of fun, kind of neat. Okay, here and here are where the actual bristles, like this one, attach, that actually kick stuff back and into the collector. And then here's the actual setup inside. So here's the actual DC motor right there that connects to this big gear with a small gear with another big gear, and then this little end here is where the bristle actually attaches. Holy frick. Okay, so here and here is where you have these bristles. They connect on the underside, so we're looking at the top side right here of the Roomba. And so these actually go underneath and connect on the bottom. And then here's the setup. So I've taken one of these off, the one that was on the right side, and here it is. It's got this gear set up. So surprisingly, you actually get, I would have thought that this would be set up for top speed because the actual fan attaches there, but it's actually set up the other way where it's set up for torque. So this thing gets a lot of torque, and this spins a lot, and it's just got a regular DC motor like you'd find on a fan or whatever. Here's a DC motor that powers the collecting bristle right here that just collects crap and puts it in the tray. Here's the motor that spins that, again, just a regular DC motor like you'd find on a fan. And then on the Roomba, again, we've got these motors drive the actual wheels. These motors look more complicated than the other ones, so I'm excited to dig into them. They have 5, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wires. They've got 6 wires, and they also have a little, I don't know if you can see it, but it almost looks like an LED right there, so I'm excited to dig into these. So this whole thing comes off in one unit, and this thing looks beautiful. This thing looks super cool. Here's the inside of the wheel. I'm spinning it just a little bit here, and you can tell it's made for like super, super fine control over the wheel, which is super cool. I found out what this piece of plastic is. It's just a piece of plastic, and it has a LED underneath it that lights up this piece of plastic, and you can see this tip from the outside. You can see this is the port on the outside of the robot vacuum. We can see that tip. Also, according to ChatGPT, this is a brushed DC motor with an encoder. I need to do some learning. Not sure what an encoder is, but it has these wires right here. It has a positive and negative. Oh wow! It has a positive and negative that go to powering the motor, and it's got a positive and negative that go to powering the controls for the motor. And then the 2 other wires are controls for the motor. They're the signal wires. And that's how it knows to change direction when it hits stuff. I just barely found this out because I'm an idiot, but the encoder is the thing that lets the signals, it tells your controller device about what's going on here. The encoder is the go-between that lets it communicate with your controlling device. I assumed at first that these things here were like electrical signal sort of things, but I don't think they are. I think these things just sit on the front, and their job is to hold the front bumper in place for when it does get hit by stuff. And then the other thing is I would have assumed that the bumper bumping would be what like actually told the system what's going on, is like there'd actually be a physical button that it would get pressed or something, but I don't think there is. I think the only thing that they have to sense when it's hitting stuff is the infrared sensors, I think. I'm not sure though. Never mind. It does have bumpers. Here's a bumper here. There's a bumper here. Check this out. This is super cool. This is the bumper. And I assume that there's some kind of signal that goes between these two that this thing interrupts. I've seen stuff like this where it would make like an electrical connection here, but this one just seems to interrupt a signal. That doesn't seem right intuitively, but like this is a piece of plastic right here, I think, and I don't know what else it could be. And it's not even touching this, so I would assume there's some kind of signal there that's being broken, which is really cool. I don't know what kind of signal it would be, but that's neat. So you guys watching probably can't see this, but this side has a diode symbol on the top, and this side has a CE on the top. So the diode side is what emits the light, and then the CE I think stands for collector, emitter. All right, I did some searching on the interweb, and this right side is a diode. It's also the infrared thing. So the this right side emits the infrared beam, and it also is a diode. And so it's just like an LED where it lets out the light, and it also only lets electricity flow one way. That's what a diode is a thing that only lets electricity flow one way. And so this one's labeled with the diode symbol, which looks just like that. And then this left side is labeled with CE, collector and emitter. And so it has 4 wires, 2 for each side. This right side has an input and an output, or a cathode and an anode, I think. And then this left side has a just input and output. The output and input are the positive and negative, so the negative's ground for this left collector and emitter, and this right one is the diode that's actually sending the signal, and so the signal will change based on whether or not it's receiving this signal. I think that's my understanding. And of course this lever being pressed is what interrupts the signal, and then these wires go to the actual whatever thinking parts, the circuit board of the robot, and that changes what it'll do. And that's how it knows to change direction when it hits stuff. Okay, that's all I was interested in showing with the robot vacuum. That was a learning experience for me. Thanks for watching. If you want to buy some of these super cool tool holders, you can buy them at tool-spot.com. We make them here. We use them. We love them. Me and my dad do. And if you want to give me money, please do. I'll put my Venmo somewhere. I like money. Please give me money. And that's all. Thanks.